Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm gonna plug my phone in and hope that it's actually plugged in. Hold on. I think it is. All right, I'm going to tag a few people. Hopefully you guys can hear me because my lives have been a little funky lately. I'm gonna tag my elites and see if anybody is around. So, and it doesn't look like a lot of people are active, and that's fine. So I won't take up too much of your time, the beginning of this anyways. So let me introduce myself. Hey Mary, how are you? Hello. Okay, so my name is Amy Alley. I don't think a lot of you guys probably know me. I am a new Black Status presenter, which seems crazy to say out loud. But Sherry asked me to come in here and share my journey to Black Status with you guys. And I feel very privileged and honored to be asked to do that. So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. And I have notes because I'm a nerd. It's actually taken me a few days to collect my thoughts and think about what I wanted to say before I did this. And so that's why it's taken me a few days, because I have been reflecting on my journey with Younique, and I really wanted to give you guys hopefully some valuable information as to kind of like the details around how I feel like my business changed and made the shift to the momentum that we have experienced in my team the past few months. Hey Lee, hey Brittany. So here we go. And I feel like, bear with me, I'm nervous. I don't know why, but I hate coming on live and talking about myself. So that's just me. It's who I am. I'm going to get red. I'll be nervous. I'm sweating right now. It took me forever to press the live button. It's just who I am. Okay. And bear with me because I feel like I need to explain kind of my journey, my backstory with Younique, not just like what happened in the last 4 months of my business, because I don't think without whatever happened to me in that journey, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am today, if that makes sense. So bear with me. I'm just going to give you a little backstory, and I'm sorry my messenger is blowing up right now, which is totally distracting. Okay, so I joined Younique at the very end of February in 2015, so I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary in February. I was a true, honest-to-God, 100% kidnapper. My girlfriend, I had tried the mascara before, but my girlfriend, one of my best friends from college, asked me to have a party with her. She sold me the kit the night before my party, and I literally said the words, "Do I have to sell anything?" Because I didn't even want to sell a pencil to a teacher. Like, that is who I am. And she was like, "Nope." I'm like, "Okay, sign me up." It was a 10-minute conversation. And then obviously that's not what ended up happening for me. My party was super successful. I think it was like $1,000 party. I started seeing that I could make a little extra fun money. And I hit pink, I hit fast start, I hit blue very quickly in my journey almost 5 years ago. I also earned the cruise to Jamaica, just completely flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't even know how to do makeup, you guys, all right? So that was really my first year and my first experience with Younique. It was fast and furious. I had no idea what I was doing. I went on the cruise in October to Jamaica, and I saw the culture, and I just said, this is awesome. And I saw all these Black Status presenters and elite status, and I was like, I can do that. I want to do that. So I came back in October, at the end of October, and made the decision that next year I wanted to be elite status. And so I booked a crap ton of parties to start in January, also knowing that the next cruise incentive started in January and I wanted to earn it again. And that month I double promoted from blue to orange. So that was just my first year of being in Younique, okay? Hey, Sherry. And then what happened to me was I just sat there. So I hit orange within a year, and then I sat there until this past September. So that's a really long time. I think but that's like 3 years. So what happened in between that and then, whatever that was, what is that, 2016, January of 2016, And this year has been, said to Sherry this morning, like my journey's been kind of a shit show. And she goes, well, isn't everybody's? And so I was like, yeah, probably. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, you guys. And this is what I kind of wanted to share with you guys, because I feel like if I hadn't gone through all those ups and downs in my business, I wouldn't have the drive and tenacity to have achieved what happened this past fall. So I was a vice president of operations for the largest post-acute healthcare company in the U.S. I'm a physical therapist by background. I had taken that job right when I started with Younique, actually. So my journey with Younique started out, my why was just that this was a fun, outlet for me. I loved meeting new women. I went to Unified. I met friends from all over the world, that type of thing. But my full-time job became increasingly more stressful. And it ended up being so that because I had such a strong love for Younique, and I knew what I would be able to achieve with it, it almost was like the two of them were like a power struggle. And so fast forward to the fall of 2017, I had just gone on the incentive trip to Punta Cana, and I came back and was extremely unhappy, and I didn't know why. I was sad, I was depressed, and going into that next year of 2018, it was one of the worst years of my life. My husband and I started having a lot of marital problems. My marriage was falling apart. I was just very unhappy. So we went through a lot of crap. And I was really just like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? My job was becoming more stressful. I still loved Younique. I was stagnant in Younique, and I was feeling shitty about myself. Sorry, I'm gonna swear. I was feeling crappy about myself because of that. And then in May of 2018, we experienced a big tragedy. One of my daughter's sorry, I didn't think I was gonna cry. One of my daughter's best friends, who was 7, died in a tragic accident. And looking back, that was really a turning point for me. And I promise you guys I'm going to get to all the nitty-gritty of what my team's been doing. I promise, okay? But I look back, and I think that was really a turning point for me. I kind of woke up and said, what the hell am I doing? With my marriage, with my family, with my job, with Younique, the whole thing. So I went to a convention in August. I've been going to conventions pretty much right along since New Orleans. And had an amazing convention, but then I was sitting in the airport on my way home and literally started having a panic attack. I'd had a conversation with someone that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I started having a panic attack. And to the point where I got home from convention and I thought to myself, what am I doing? You're not worthy. I was having worthiness issues. And I said, I think, I voice messaged one of my yesties, and I said, I don't know, I think I should just quit, Sorry, guys, hold on. So I said, either I need to quit or I need to boss up and change my life. So thank God I didn't quit, and I decided to, Miriam remembers. So I'm sorry I'm a hot mess, guys. So I decided to boss up and change my life. So, let's see. I earned an elite retreat to Sherry's elite retreat in January in Vegas, and that was a good boost of confidence for me. Also at that time, Eric Worre was introduced to us, so I decided I was going to do the 20 and 30 in January. I was never a good sponsorer. I had sponsored and built my team, and I had been maintaining orange the whole time. I think there was only 1 month that I did not hit orange status, and I hit green instead, since the time I hit back in whenever that was, 2016, okay? So I was maintaining my status. But I wasn't super great at sponsoring. So I went to Vegas in January. I went to this retreat, and I had sponsored I'd already earned the bag incentive. I just remember having the bag when I got there. Because I was really invested in changing my life, okay? And I had started to think about wanting to quit my job. And I had loved my career with my company. But it was just becoming more increasingly stressful, guys. So I went to Vegas, and then I decided I needed to invest in myself if I was going to make this happen. So I decided to buy a ticket to Empower You in Texas and fly to Texas, even though I just paid the money to fly to Vegas. But I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this. So I went to Empower You in Texas. And fast forward, that was what, I think in February. And after lots of long talks with my husband and self-reflection and Scary Mary, Hail Marys to whoever, the universe, I decided that at the end of April I was going to quit my job, my 17-year career as a VP and the breadwinner of my family, and go all in with Younique because I needed to change my life. Like, it was killing me inside. So at the end of April of this year, I quit my career in healthcare, and I gave a 2-month notice, so I was done in June. And there's my dog, because that's what happens. And my husband and I at that time said, okay, I was making like a, kind of about the same amount that I could count on. I'm sorry, Luke. Probably UPS is here. So I had kind of like been able to count on a certain amount of income, if that makes sense. But my husband and I really said to each other, all right, you're going to be done at the end of June. Let's give it till the end of the year to see how it goes. And if it's not going well with Younique, then you can always go back. And that's what we always says. I'm sorry, I know. So that's what we did. So now I'm going to get to the whole momentum and what happened from then on. Oh my God, you guys. So the turning point from then on for me was having to earn a full-time income with Younique after being the breadwinner for my family. Like, that was very heavy for me. And yes, my husband has a good job and it's stable and I'm blessed. But we have built a life from having a dual income, you know what I mean, for several years. So, and I knew he was very nervous. He's going to kill me if he knew I was sharing this stuff with you guys. He was very nervous about the financial piece of it. So I had to get my mindset right, and this is what I want to talk to you guys about, and that's why I felt it important to tell you the backstory. Because at that moment, July 1st, whatever, coming into working Younique full time, I knew I was disciplined. I knew I was driven. I knew what to do. But I had to get my mindset right. And what it was a game changer for me was I stopped being status driven. I no longer cared I didn't care if I stayed at orange status for the next 5 years, like legitimately. Did I want black status? Did I want purple? Absolutely. But I no longer cared what status I was. All I cared about was making enough income to provide for my family and not have to go back to a job that slowly killed me every day, day in and day out because of the stress, okay? So that right there, I think, was huge for me. So I pretended that I was in rebuilding mode, and some of my yesties in here probably remember me saying this. I said, I'm pretending I'm in rebuilding mode. I wasn't in rebuilding mode. I had a really solid team. I have amazing, amazing women on my team who are rock stars. And I was maintaining orange, like I said, but I pretended I was in rebuilding mode. I just kind of forgot about that. I focused on sponsoring, and I got back to the basics that helped me grow my business super quickly in that first year of my career with Younique. So I went back to partying. I held myself accountable to booking at least 4 parties every single week, starting mid-July. I turned 40 in July too, so like, holy midlife crisis. I would joke I'm going through a midlife crisis. I just quit my career and whatever. I'm going into business for myself. So I started booking 4 parties a week at least and holding myself accountable to that. And then we were going into August, right? So convention happened. So no matter what, I was going to prove to myself and prove to my husband that I could do this. So convention came around. It was amazing. And I came back and I was so fired up, you guys. So I came back and I did a live with my team because honestly, most of my circle was not, well, there was only one person from my circle at convention. Okay, let's just start with that. And I had people go before to convention over the years, but this particular year, probably because my business was a shit show itself, like I always showed up for my team and I was there for them. But at that, for whatever reason, not many people decided to invest in convention in this year. Okay, so I came back and I went live with my team. I have a separate runners group, okay, that I've had for a while. And I went live in that particular group. And I talked about convention. And I talked about, those of you who are at convention know Melanie's speech about the BHAG. And BHAG is actually a term that we used in my previous career. So I was like, okay, this is a sign. So I'd already known what that was. So I talked to them about BHAGs and I told them what my BHAG was. And I said, my BHAG is that we are going to be a Black status team before convention of 2020. And I even said to them, I'm saying that's a BHAG, but I don't really think it is because I know we can do it. You know, that's truly how I felt. And I asked them, shout out your BHAGs. And a lot of people shouted out they wanted to walk the stage green at convention. And mind you, I bought a 10-pack, and that 10-pack was sold pretty much by the time I got home from convention. My team saw me at convention. They saw, I think, just what was going on, and they wanted to be part of that for next year. So I knew we had some good momentum. And then I had a friend share a gratitude training with me around that same time that truly I was grateful before, but this particular gratitude training that was shared with me just reframed it in a way that I started being grateful for the very small little things. I was extremely grateful that I had built my business to the point where I could step away from my job, my full-time career, and still be able to pay my mortgage. Like, that's the bargain I made with my husband. I said, if I can pay the mortgages, because we have a camp, can we do this? And he was like, yes. So I was already extremely grateful for what I had. But she framed it in a way of being grateful for everything throughout your day. And so every time, like, I got in the car to drive my kids to school and didn't have to rush back to be on a conference call for my crap job that I ended up hating, I took a minute and I closed my eyes and I said, I'm so grateful for this right now. And I started practicing little tiny acts of gratitude all the time. And I know that might sound crazy to some of you guys who haven't experienced that, but it really made a difference. And I shared that training with my team. I bought a gratitude bell myself. I bought gratitude bells for some of my team, and we started talking about it a lot. And I know that some of my team members confided in me that really helped them a lot too. So we started really celebrating the small wins. And so here we go. So this was end of August into September. Now I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of what I really think happened with my business and how we hit Black status in November. So I started doing sponsoring pushes. Again, I told you guys, I had done those all throughout this particular year with Eric Worre's. I'd never sponsored 20 and 30. I'm not a huge sponsoring person. I sponsored 15 in a month. I think that's the most I've done. But I held myself accountable to that. And I started talking to my team more about sponsoring because we weren't great at sponsoring. My circle was not great at sponsoring. My circle was fairly small. So I knew that we needed to work on that. One of my yesties, Ashley, had shared the concept of like a 6-week training course with me. And she shared that with me at the end of August, and I loved the idea, and I was like, I'm going to do that. So at the end of August, I sat down and I took like a whole week and I worked on all the training content really hard. I made outlines for everything. I typed out everything, as you guys can tell, and that's me. And I'll go back and read your comments after. I'll lose my train of thought if I read them now. So I started that training at the beginning. I think I let the first week of September go by and I started it the second week. It was an exclusive training. It was invite only. I think we had about 10 people go through the course. And at that time, I was really working like 8 to 10 hour days. As soon as the kids went back to school, I approached my business as truly like my full-time job. And I think I am lucky in the fact that my previous job as a VP, I worked from home most of the time. So I would go into my office at 7:30. I'd get the kids on the bus, go in my office, and I wouldn't come out until 5 or 6 at night. That was normal. That was normal for us, for my family. So I was doing the same thing. I would put the kids on the bus. I would come back. I'd sit down on the couch. I'd plant my ass on the couch, and I would work all day long, to the point where people would be like, oh, isn't it so great? Don't you have all this time? And I was like, actually, I don't know. I feel busier. And I think I was busier because I was able to dedicate so much more time to proper customer follow-up. I was running so many more parties than I had in the past. And I was working with my team so much more, which was what I always wanted to do, because mentoring is my passion, which is why I was in a leadership role for 17 years with my previous career. So I put in a lot of hours, and my husband was like, he even said to me a few times, like, because I would work all day, he'd come home, I would stop, help with homework, the whole thing, but then I go back to working at night on the couch. And that was the thing that always drove my husband crazy, was that lack of balance. And he kind of was looking at me like, I thought you were supposed to have more free time, type of thing. And he did notice my stress level was much less, but I kind of said to him, honey, I'm working on my business. Like, this is my career now. If you want us to, have things, then I need to work. So I had his buy-in, thank God, which is another important point. So I started the exclusive training. The topics of that training was basics, okay? And it sounds super basic, but honestly, some people needed it. So there were people at all different levels that went through that first exclusive training course. So I talked about, one course was Facebook algorithm, sponsoring, expanding your network, personal development, branding, and sales, okay? And it was once a week Zoom calls at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night, so people had to commit. I also had a chat for those people. That took them through like a full course, okay? If people weren't doing what they should be doing, I would kind of threaten to kick them out of the group because I wanted it to be very exclusive. So also Sherry was happening to run the September sleigh at that same time. I would say maybe out of that, there was probably, I don't know, Sheena, Sheena's watching. Hey, a few of you guys went through the September sleigh at the same time as that class that I did. That wasn't planned, but I had already, I didn't know that was going to go hand in hand, but I do think it kind of helped as well. Some people who had gone through that sleigh the previous year did it again, and it just kind of solidified. I was talking with Shayna Dow, one of my new elites in here, earlier today, and she was like, yeah, that just solidified for me that I already knew what to do, and I was ready for that next level. I was ready for more. So in September, we hit purple. So this is the crazy thing. I was not focused, again, I told you guys I wasn't focused on status advancement. I was focused on growing my team, rebuilding, starting over, even though I wasn't, and helping my girls achieve their goals, because so many of them told me that they wanted to walk the stage at convention. So we hit purple in September. It was while running this course, while doing a sleigh, the whole thing. And we weren't pushing until like the last 2 days, because actually I had seen halfway through the month, and Jamie is my sister-in-law, and she's the one who hit green that month. I had even joked with her halfway through the month, like, guys, sorry. I'd even joked with her halfway through the month, like, just saying, I think Jamie could hit green this month. I think maybe you want to run for green. Just saying. And she kind of laughed it off, and I was like, okay, that's fine. She's not ready. I'm not going to push her. And then 2 days before the end of the month, she was so close she could taste it, and she was like, okay, we need to do this. And her team just rallied, and they did it. So we hit purple in September. Okay? October was the next 20 and 30. I did the 20 and 30. This is when I think I sponsored about 15 people this past time. This is huge. I feel like this is huge for you guys if you're not doing this already. So when Eric's 20 and 30 started at the beginning of this year in January, I started new presenter training groups. I am actually going to kill him. I wish there was a mute button on live because I want to yell at him so bad right now. Luke! Come here! Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Why does this always happen to me? Okay, hold on. I'm going to shut my door. Luke, come here. Come on. Come on. Come say hi. Okay. All right. So so I started new presenter training groups at the beginning of the year when we did our 20 and 30 pushes, okay? And they were groups. I tried that for 2 or 3 cycles, and I know, it's a crap show. I'm a crap show. This is always my life. Stop it. Stop. Stop it. Stop. And the first one was pretty successful, and then after that, I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't successful. I'm going to shut my door. Okay. So this October, when I decided to do another 20 and 30 push, I decided to switch it up, and I decided to do new presenter training and group chats. And here is what I did for my particular business and my team that I think was a game changer. I was not always training new people that people sponsored besides me. Does that even make sense? So when a new presenter joined on my team, I don't care if it was like 3 people deep, I wasn't necessarily reaching out to them. And I noticed after I had quit my job and started working Younique full time, I was like, I don't think we are doing a very good job with training. Like, I feel like people were joining as kidnappers who could have turned into business builders, who didn't even know about Fast Start, and that the fact that they could earn unlimited Y cash in their first 60 days, that could have turned into business builders. So I had kind of had an inkling that something needed to change with that soon after I quit my job this spring. So I decided to, in October, start group chats for new presenters. And I decided to run it. It was just easier, and it wasn't like a big deal. But it was putting anybody new who joined, I would friend them. I would reach out to them. I would say, welcome to the team. And then if they replied back, I would say, hey, I have a new chat for new presenters. It's basically just giving you the basics of what you can earn in your first 60 days, and where you can ask questions. It's just a supportive environment. Do you want to join? And I gave them the option, and I don't think I had maybe one person out of we've sponsored a lot in the past 3 months. Maybe one person say they didn't want to join. So I would add them to the chat, and I would give them the information about Fast Start. It was basically just one post a day. Like, I didn't want to overwhelm people because I didn't want them to leave, right? So I would just give them one little snippet a day. Fast Start information. I had started something else I worked hard on this summer, was I started a launch group. So I started a lash launch group because since the 4D launched, we didn't have like a consolidated place for the primer, the serum, Epic, and 4D. So that's the other thing I did. I forgot about that. I did a lash launch group. And I would put the link to that in there, and I'd say, here's my recommended first steps. You guys all know what to say, but it was giving them the information, giving them the link to the group. I didn't tell them they had to do it. It was just giving it to them as a gift. Here you go. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste if you want to. And I think what ended up happening was a lot of people who were kidnappers initially, like me, saw how easy it was to earn unlimited Y cash in your first 60 days, and they saw that, oh wow, they have a system set up that you can copy paste. That's awesome. And people were asking questions. And in October, my team sponsored so many people that I had to create another group chat halfway through the month because we kept sponsoring all the way through the month. So now I have I currently have 3 new presenter group chats going, and I still have them going. I kept them, even the people who joined in October, I kept them going all through November because I fed them information about Black Friday, like here's the wording I'm using, just because I know that people miss things in groups. And so even if they were a part of my team page, I felt like people were missing so many things. And then with me being closely connected with them, they had access to me, and I actually worked with people, 4 people deep, closely to hit fast start and things like that. So it was not to minimize what the sponsor was doing with them. My people were in it too that I was sponsoring, but it wasn't to minimize what their sponsor was doing to train them. It was just to enhance as a team, if that makes sense, and to put people all in a community where they're all new and they could not be afraid to ask questions. So that was October. In October, we had Shayna with them in here. She hit elite status. So we maintained purple in October. So that was October. So then, basically what happened was we had so many new people. I was so excited. We had lots of momentum going that I was like, you know what? I should really do a sleigh in November. I know it's Black Friday, but I had already known that it was, Black Friday was going to be at the end of the month. We had most of November to do normal stuff. So I decided to do a sleigh group in November. This was before November had hit, mainly for the new people. And I told my elites and my leaders that was happening, and they were like all for it. So so one of my first lives that I did, like it was November 1st or maybe it was October 31st, I don't remember. I asked everyone in that sleigh group to shout out their goals. That was their first task. So, because I wanted to know how to help everybody, right? So are you going for pink? Are you going for fast start? Do you want to hit blue this month? And so everyone had to shout out their goals. And in doing that, there was 2 women on my team who shouted out that they wanted elite in November. Well, we already had 2 elites on my team. And I knew that we had the company volume already for black status the 2 previous months before that, in September and October, which were just like whatever months, right? And so obviously I knew we could do better than that in November. So I sat down and I mapped out my team, and I looked at Ben and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I kind of did. I was like, I don't know what to do. This wasn't in my plan. I wasn't going to run for black in November. Like it was my long-term goal to get there by convention. But if everything fell into place, we would be black. So I said, he's like, well, then I guess you need to go for it. So I decided to do a live in my runners group. And I said, okay, guys, here's the deal. I didn't plan for this. This wasn't my goal, but this is what you guys shouted out. And so I think we should run for black. Do you think we should run for black? And, and everyone was on that, and the fire emojis were going. They're like, yes, of course we run for black. And like everyone was all in. So there we go. So we started to run for black. So as far as the nitty gritty for that, myself in November, I ran the sleigh, which I really think helped the new girls. It kept them on task. I gave them a new task every day. It was kind of a combination of what Sherry had done, plus some of my own, because I had done sleighs before on my own with my team. So I did kind of a melding of that. That helped keep the new people on track, okay? Because some of these teams that were running for black had brand new people. Running for green had brand new people. So I did team chats. I did a chat for the 3 people. There was 3 people who wanted to run for green. One of them would have been my 3rd generation. So I had them together in a chat. I myself did the sleigh. I also ran 4 parties a week myself every week for the month of November, except the last week I had to message my hostesses and say, I'm sorry, but can I push you off to December? Because I just couldn't take on one more thing. And then I did my Black Friday chat. So my personal sales in November were over 9,000 myself. It was a very, very, very busy month. Towards the end, I was literally staying up till midnight, getting up at 6 the next morning. I was working 18-hour days. I was exhausted. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, right? Real raw, down and dirty. So I had chats going with the teams that were running, and what actually ended up happening, just so you guys know, is that one of the legs that was running didn't get there. She got to 60% though, and she was a blue status presenter that had not requalified for blue in years, and she got to 60%, which is amazing. And what actually happened is Amy Waterman, and I don't think she's on, who hit last month. She was a brand new presenter at the end of August, and her team was all new. And she was running for blue, but I saw her fire at the beginning of the month, and I kept saying to her, hey, I know you're running for blue. I'm just putting this out there. I think you guys could get green. And I know that scares you, you know. And lo and behold, she hit blue halfway through the month, and we had a conversation. I'm like, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to keep going. And I said, well, does your team want to keep going? And so she went and talked to her team, and they're like, sure, let's keep going. And so I got in a group chat with them. And so I had 3 group chats going with the teams that were running for green last month. And basically my job in that chat was to cheer them on and give them ideas and to help with mapping. And this is the other thing, like I will say, if you have people who want to run for green, getting their team to buy in, I think is huge, because I will say the team that didn't achieve elite but got to 60%, she had a couple people who were bought in, but I could tell in that team chat that I was kind of like dragging them along, okay? Versus the other chats were more engaged, people were cheering each other on. It wasn't just the leader running, right, Shayna? Shayna knows. And so I will say, if the team is not ready, don't do it. You can do it. And I kept going. I didn't stop. And that was hard for me because I don't like to bother people. So for me to keep going into that chat that I was kind of crickets and be like, okay, here we are, guys. You know, and I'd remap and I'd say, this is the team's goals. Was hard for me. And I was like, I don't want to bother people. But then I was like, I don't care if I'm bothering you because you said you wanted this goal. So let's do this. I will also say, don't be afraid to link arms with someone who may not see in themselves what you see in them. So I'm going to call Amy out on this. And, you know, Amy was nervous. Like I don't know if she believed in herself at the beginning of the month that she could hit green, but I saw something in Amy where when she joined at the end of August, I actually put her in that exclusive training class. 3 weeks, I asked her 3 weeks after she started, I said, hey, listen, I know this is probably going to overwhelm you, but I see something in you. I think you should join this class. And she did. And when I talked to her after, the end of November, I said, what was the turning point for you? And she said, that class was huge for me. So don't be afraid to tell people and link arms with them and scoop them up and say, I believe in you. I see this in you, because as women, we don't always see that in ourselves, right? So that's something else that I've really learned, and it doesn't have to be necessarily the person you sponsored. You can dig way down. 2 more things, and then I promise I'll get off. This is probably so long. I started company calls in October, and I want to talk about that for a second. I had always wanted to do company calls, team Zooms, with my whole company at the beginning of the month, and then Younique happened to, seriously that same month be like, here you go, we're giving you PowerPoints to do. I was like, well, this is a sign. So I have done company calls. I've used their standard PowerPoint, and then I manipulate it and make it my own and add things in and take things out. And I do a company call at the beginning of every month with my circle, and I really feel like it is helping people get on the same page, because I cannot stress enough that team pages are not necessarily where it's at as far as getting information out to people, especially the new people. There is so much information out there, people are overwhelmed. So my company calls are 30 to 40 minutes, and it goes over the basics of what's happening that month. And I really feel like it sets everyone okay, here's the kudos. How do I sell the kudos? What's in the kudos? I give them my selling strategies. We do recognition. We talk about what happened the month before. And it just gets everyone on the same page so we all know what's going on, and then people are like, okay, we can do this. And I've gotten really good feedback. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I was doing those too, and I do feel like they're valuable, even though they do take a little legwork to put them together and get them going. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say is sideline sister support is humongous. If you do not have someone, a yestie that you can call on, that you can bitch to when you need to outside of your team, that you can just say, that you can collaborate with and get ideas from. If you don't have that, I encourage you to try to find that, because it is huge. And I'm lucky enough to have several of those people in my life. And I don't know where I would be without them, seriously. So yesties and sideline sister support is huge if you want to keep yourself grounded and going in the right direction. So I just want to put that out there. So I think mindset and gratitude. Get your team involved with this as well. We have a culture in my team that we are supportive and uplifting. My team will tell you I give them virtual slaps when they need it. My sister-in-law will say that I am annoyingly positive, even when no one wants to hear it. But we do really try to practice gratitude and celebrate each other. And our culture is strong. And I have had a group chat of runners since the first September sleigh that Sherry did last year. And since then, I've added people who were worthy. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Worthy of being closer in the circle. People whose feet were running, right? And we would add them into the chat. I would add them into the chat. And I think that chat has been huge for us as well, because it's a super supportive environment and uplifting. And I know that every girl on my team truly wants to see their sideline sister succeed and, surpass them even. So we have built that culture. I would say focus on mentoring new presenters. That was a game changer for me. I'd say do not be afraid to push people out of their comfort zone. In my 17-year career in healthcare, there was not one time I took a promotion, and I took many, that I felt like I was ready for. Not one. It was always someone coming to me and saying, Amy, I think you should go for this promotion. I'd be like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to stay here in my comfort bubble, but they saw something in me and they believed in me. And every single time I went for that friggin' promotion, and I got the promotion, and really good things did happen on the other side until healthcare got really stressful and started going downhill. So don't be afraid to be that person for your team. Really get to know your presenters at all levels, dig deep down. And that's why the new presenter training is really fun, because you get to meet and get to know people on your team that you didn't personally sponsor. And like I said, I just think that most of us as women don't have that in their DNA necessarily to see what they have inside them that others might see. So then the people who are running for elites, I will put them in a team chat. And I think that especially around the 15th or the 20th of the month, now that we've had a few elites promote since September, I've kind of seen this happen. I think sometimes around the 15th or the 20th, people get scared and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know. Because they don't feel like they're close enough to their goal. And so I do a lot of reframing and a lot of mindset work with them. And I truly see my job as trying to show them what is possible. So if they only see that I have $4,000 more to go, every time they would get a sale, I'd say, no, you're not going to say I'm $4,000 away. You're going to say, oh my God, I just got 2 more sales. Look how much closer that got me to my goal. So help them reframe and keep in a positive mindset, because I see people right around the 20th start to freeze, and it can go south. It can go south from there if we don't keep them positive, right? So mapping out their teams in different ways. All right, you need this many mascaras. You need this as a team goal. Susie Q wants to go for blue. That's going to be $4,000. You got this. You know what I mean? Like, just really trying to reframe and show them what is actually possible, because elite's overwhelming. $10,000 team sales is overwhelming. And I think that's it. I feel like was this like a complete mess outside of Luke being a complete crap show in the background? But thank you guys for bearing with me. I truly don't feel like I would have been ready to hit black status or even purple status before I hit it. I'm just going to be honest. I do feel like I've come into my leadership with my team, and I don't know if I could have done that and been what I needed to for them when I was in a really bad spot, right, last year. So I think that when you're ready, it's going to happen. I think there are definitely, these pieces helped me get there. But I think my why has changed 15 times over the past 5 years. And my why is so strong that it wasn't about status. It wasn't. It was about providing for my family and helping my team succeed. And then the rest just kind of fell into place with strategy. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. I'm going to go back and read your comments, and I'll answer them after. I got to make sure I get my daughter off the bus. I don't even know what time it is, but hopefully the school isn't calling me, telling me I need to come collect my daughter. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. And Sherry, thank you for asking me to do this. And I love you guys. Bye.